Mojang really seems to hate this component. But for now, what you are looking at is probably the smallest Shulker box loader you can build in Minecraft. It's actually reliable and won't break on you. So let's first demonstrate that it actually works, because I have no doubts that many of you don't believe me. And that was it. I filled the box the same way a hopper would. It got broken and a new box got placed. Fairly straightforward, right? Well, as you can see by this load of past designs, that's definitely not the case. So let's go over why this and not any of these ones, and why this was only possible thanks to the new update with the copper bulbs. So originally we started with things sort of like this, maybe even bigger ones. This works reasonably well when the box gets filled up. Items pile up in this hopper, and when there are enough of them to get signal strength, this pushes down, destroys the box, and a new one gets placed. The most important part is that this hopper, or this one ideally, but sadly we need two of them for this thing, gets locked here at the top, so not more items get in. This was a design I made years ago, which didn't have this locking. However, that allowed it to be way smaller. The problem obviously is when you then feed too many items at once into this, or during a long amount of time, you will overflow it, since eventually the items will pile up in this dropper and the signal will be constantly sent and not change. And it's basically the same principle. Once this comparator is active, sends signal, here's a T flip-flop, sends signal, breaks box, replaces. Fairly easy to understand. And it also has the same flow of using two hoppers for feeding. Then this thing came along. This thing sort of made all of these obsolete and made them look fairly ridiculous. It's because of how short it is. It's only 3 blocks tall. It also used only 3 hoppers. At least this version, we'll get to that later. But of course, Mojang, in their ever wisdom, decided to nerf this thing, and I'll show you how. This can happen now. This didn't exist when this was originally made, because the hopper had a nice cube in the box. But that's actually not the only flaw, and we'll get to that. People then scrambled for how to fix it, and this was the first solution, I guess, to how to get almost the same size, this 1 block taller. And you can see the whole thing is just the same, except we have now another dropper and another hopper. However, this was still really small, smaller than any of the other ones. And now it enabled the items to go nicely into the hopper. However, people quickly realized, somehow they didn't realize it for any of these ones, and I think that's one of the things that progressed over time with storage tech, that this can break when you have 2 of these right next to each other. That means you can get a case where it will not fire off the box, or it would fire twice, 2 of them, which is a huge problem. So the next iteration was this thing, which, if you take a bigger picture look, isn't much smaller than this one. I think it's like 1 block shorter. Yeah, it's this one hopper here at the bottom isn't here. So this is still technically smaller, but still huge. Now, This fixes the stylability issue. It somehow is even worse because now you need two hoppers here. For instance, observer is this way rotated. But I guess it still does the trick of being the smallest. But yeah, having 5 hoppers, that's pretty bad. And obviously none of them are even locked. People at some point figured out a thing like this. This does work. However, this is somehow even worse than the other ones because it's even easier to break. The window for breaking this is much greater. And I think this one actually always ejects 2 items, or this one can even like fully break. So yeah, this used to be used as the bottom part of a bunch of loaders back in the day, and nobody realized this, which was pretty funny. However, thanks to the copper bulbs, we can now have a constant signal. This fixes this issue, and I'll go over that later. And yeah, it's way smaller than this one thing, especially because it's less wide. It depends how you do it, because sometimes people don't count some features with the height, and sometimes they don't include this. Or for example, originally someone, when they posted it, they removed this hopper here, which is not nice of them. However, I generally think this is the minimal setup with 3 hoppers. Here you can use water stream or another hopper line, same for the top. And when you do it like this, it's 5 blocks tall and 6 blocks wide, while this thing is 7 blocks wide and 5 blocks tall, which is understandably really bad for that thing. So let's go over the tileability thing first, and I have something else for you at the end of the video. But I guess if you just want to know how this works and want to copy it and trust my assessment, you can probably leave the video now. So how does one test for these sort of things? Ideally, you just build 2 of these next to each other. You freeze time with the new commands. Let's now fill both of them at the same time. And now we unfreeze time. As you can see, that worked just fine. No double firing or anything. Let's now try a 1 game tick delay. It's irritating me, so I'll leave that. And now we've unfreeze again. Again, no issues. Let's do this a couple more times. You can see why people like me are usually a little too lazy to do this. as you can see, it works really well. You still got ejected. At least now you know why the precision box loaders are such a great thing. Obviously, if you have blocks all around this, even the hopper at the top actually helps a lot, even though the hitbox isn't that good as it used to be. The items or the boxes in item form will not eject. And for the last thing in this video, I'll also show you how to make it so that it ejects in the same slice or into water like these ones. To do that, I'll first disarm it. You can use this really cool trick I have seen. But it also adds a block at the top here, sadly. But now you can move the hoppers downwards, or you can do something like this. But that's generally the downside of this thing. If you want to have ejection of the boxes, you need to make it one block taller, but that's also sort of weird because you can't load this hopper without having some blocks above it. Like even if you have a water stream, you need to have one block here. So it depends on how you interpret it. But yeah, I think that's all for this video. I hope you like this thing. I'm not claiming I invented this because it's literally two blocks being slightly different from a design that already existed and people have used it years ago. So yeah, please like, share, subscribe so more people know about this. And have a nice day.